Oh, yeah.
Whoa, that's my line.
What? That's my line.
What? That's my line.
What?
Hey, welcome back to the amazing, greatest podcast ever in Priest Payne County history. It is the Pastors of Payne show here from the St. Joseph Terror of Demons Rectory in Stillwater, America.
It is nice to be sitting in our living room.
Yes. You know what? I had this thought, Father O'Brien. You know how we...
The first time is always the worst. Go ahead.
you know how y'all always used to give tours to of your church right across the parking lot?
I still give tours.
Yeah. Well, do we give tours of the rectory?
I mean, when people come over for a meal.
Oh. Okay, so if you're in Payne County, you can take a tour of the church.
It's not open to the public.
This is not the rectory is not a tourist destination.
Yeah, if you're looking for the priests, we're probably not home. In a good way, we're out and about. It's actually fun. One of the things I like in the morning or like in the I'll walk home.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to do more walking.
Yeah.
Get my steps in. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And so like I'll in the morning, you're usually gone first, and so then there's cars out there, and then like in the afternoon, there's no cars in the garage, no cars out front. And then I think to myself, there's 5 of us who live here, me, you, Father Healy, Father Porter, and Kyle, our seminarian Kyle. And when there's no cars here, it's very edifying, because I'm like, there are 5 dudes who live in this house who are not here and like are all right now like preaching,
serving the Lord,
preaching the gospel, and I'm kind of like, okay. I sort of picture like you're somewhere on campus, and Father Porter is doing marriage prep.
He's on a pogo stick.
And Father Healy is,
playing his 9 fiddles all at the same time.
Hearing confessions, and Kyle is like giving a tour of the church,
Oh.
And I just think like, wow, the 5 of us are
serving the Lord.
I mean, we're not it. We have beautiful staffs, and we have great people that are always out and about. But it's just, anyway, it's a very edifying thing to have like an empty rectory.
Oh, yeah.
Except when I come home to an empty rectory and all the lights are on. Then I want to punch everyone in the face.
You know what that was? I think the other day when you came out and all the lights were on, you know who that was? I'm blaming Pratt.
I don't think so.
Because I came down here and his door was opened at 5.
No, this was...
We're arguing about nothing.
I don't think so.
I think it was him.
One of the things about being a pastor, for all you future pastors out there, basically there's two jobs involved in being a pastor. One is praying with and for your people, and the other is turning lights off.
Oh, wow. Say it, don't spray it.
That's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I do all day. I follow people around, and I shut lights off.
Didn't your dad used to do that? Why do we own shares of the power?
My dad used to, I think I've said this on the show, he would come upstairs and all the lights would be on, and he would say, hello, kids, the airport called and planes are starting to come towards the house, so I'm just going to shut off some of these lights. It was very funny.
Wow. Well, there's just to make the switcheroo here to our topic today. Okay,
very subtle transition.
I know.
By us talking about the transition.
Yeah. We've been trying to finish up the 10 Commandments for now 2.5 years.
It hasn't been that long.
I feel like it's been 2.5 years.
We started a little series on the 10 Commandments.
And that stretched out over
It's been a year-ish.
Year and a half.
Because things come up.
And so
we're knocking it out. We're finishing it today. So last week was on the 8th commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness. The week before was on the 7th commandment, thou shalt not steal.
Yes, sir.
And so today, we're gonna do 9 and 10 together.
I like doing 9 and 10 together because I have this theological phrase, and it goes something like this: 9 and 10 are hitched together like sled dogs.
Oh,
you can't talk about one without the other. So even we'll as we dive into the 9th and 10th commandments, you got your catechism there. I've got experience.
You know it.
Yeah, I loved.
I have the commandment. You have experience. Is that what you just said?
You have the catechism, and I have these funny experiences of the 9th and 10th commandments. Especially,
I have funny experiences.
Try to top this one. So So I'm teaching totus tuus the
Okay.
summer before I was ordained
You're
a deacon.
teaching small children about the Lord.
If no one knows what totus tuus is, for you people who live in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex or Central Valley of California,
not our primary audience,
not our primary audience,
can listen nonetheless.
Maybe other planets, and you are like, what is totus tuus? Well, it's the motto of John Paul II, totus tuus Maria, all of yours, and then a priest in Wichita turned that title into a summer catechetical program for kids called Totus Tuus. And it's really fantastic. And you go out in teams of 4, 2 guys, 2 girls, and you bounce around to these parishes. So one year was the 10 Commandments and the glorious mysteries of the Rosary. So I was teaching the 10 Commandments and learning them all. Learning just every week, you're teaching all 10. And so by the end of the summer, you just know the 10 Commandments super well.
That's good.
So I thought I had heard everything. Every time I said, okay, so what's the 5th commandment? People would shout it out. Oh, thou shalt not kill. What is the 3rd commandment? And then I get to small town, northeast Oklahoma. And it's
Miami, Welch.
It's Miami, Welch.
Veneta.
Yeah, all in that area. And it's the combining parishes. I don't remember which parish we were. And so I had the morning class with the kids, and we're doing a review, and I said, and we hadn't started the 9th and 10th commandments that day. And I said, okay, so what are the 9th and 10th commandments? And this little girl raised her hand. And I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goodies. And I said, I'm sorry. And she goes, goodies. And it was like, that's the 10th commandment. That's real. I mean, like, out of the mouth of babes, there's like, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goodies. And I was like, okay, boom. That's the way I teach it now.
That's what it said on the tablet.
Yeah.
But then there was like there was an editing process and
yeah.
Yeah.
I bring you these 10 commandments. Should not covet thy neighbor's goodies. So, Father O'Brien, you've got like the catechism.
Yeah, so
right
here
there
let me read for you the 9th and 10th commandments.
Please.
As they come from the book of Exodus, chapter 20.
Not out of the mouth of a little child.
So the 9th commandment is this: you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his manservant, or his maidservant, or his ox, or his ass, or anything that is your neighbor's.
Okay.
And that's the 9th and 10th commandments.
Got it.
So what we do sometimes Protestants and Catholics have a different numbering system of the 9th and 10th of the commandments. So we separate 9 and 10. Many of our Protestant brothers and sisters, I think it's 2. They make the 2nd commandment the 2nd and the 3rd. Yeah. And they put 9 and 10 together. But 9 and 10 really do go quite well together, because it's about wanting and taking things that are not, things and people.
Yes.
People and things that are not yours. Explain the word covet to covet. What does it mean when we say thou shalt not covet? It's not a word that we use a lot.
What's the etymology of it? I didn't look up the
etymology. I have no idea. Here, you talk and I'll look.
Okay, you look up the etymology of it. Covet. Well,
what's an example of? I mean, we don't use that word a lot. Like, I covet that. We just say I want it.
No, I think it's like well, I don't want to look at the etymology.
Covet means to yearn to possess or to have.
I was going to say, like, it's when I ever talk about the 7 deadly sins in the 10 commandments during an examination of conscience with people, I always save the 7 deadly sins for commandments 9 and 10, because I really think they deal with envy and greed and lust. You know, envy, greed, and lust, those 3 things are really powerful forces, because lust is the passion of the flesh for something, either woman, man, or somebody's items. Envy says, I want what somebody else has, and I'm willing to kill them for it. But I don't want
to kill them for it?
Yeah, that's what envy is.
I feel like I've been envious and not wanting to kill someone.
Yeah. But but actually, I don't want what they have. I just don't want them to have it, and I want them to. I would prefer to destroy it. And then greed is like, is it a covetous thing? Because greed says, I am not willing to share. I want it all, and I'm gonna be a hoarder of the item, and I'm not gonna share with the poor. or anybody else.
This is a great definition of to covet: to feel inordinate desire for what belongs to another. Inordinate.
Yeah.
Out of the ordinary. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, envy.
You do not want to be inordinate. Okay,
Envy
let me look up the etymology.
Etymology?
It's Latin from
concupiscence.
So covet comes from
Cupiencia.
Cupiditas.
What?
So it's Middle English, Old French. What? So it comes from like Cupid, which like love, like sort of love, but love that is inordinate, love that is
disordered. Yeah. An inordinate desire for something else.
Yeah.
Lust of the flesh.
Is that why, like, when we have, like, you see, like, Cupid, that it's like that little fat little baby and shooting arrows at people? But it's like, it's not like a free choice, Like the little Cupid baby, in the movies or cartoons, like it shoots someone and then it makes you fall in love as opposed to like a free choice. Isn't that interesting? Huh. All right.
Well, does this guy know how to party or what? Come on.
You know it. Okay, so this is Catechism 2514.
Okay.
The Gospel of John. St. John distinguishes 3 kinds of covetousness or concupiscence.
Okay.
Explain what concupiscence is. That's a big fancy theological word that we use all the time.
Science. Yeah, there's disordered attraction to something.
Yeah.
Concupiscence. It's like
so that's a result of the
original sin of the fall.
Of the fall, of Adam and Eve's sin, that you and I tend towards sin in our lives.
Yeah, St. Paul says, I know I shouldn't desire this, but I desire it.
Yep.
What is not right.
So when you think like, why do I keep wanting to sin? Like, I don't want to, but I want to.
Disordered passions, baby.
Concupiscence, yep. All right, so St. John distinguishes 3 kinds of covetousness or concupiscence. Number 1, lust of the flesh.
Well, yep.
Number 2, lust of the eyes. And number 3, pride of life.
Whoa.
In the Catholic catechetical tradition, the 9th commandment forbids carnal concupiscence, while the 10th forbids coveting another's goods.
Goodies.
So let's talk about goodies. So let's talk about those two things. So one is like lust.
Yep.
And one is like, I want that.
Lust of life. Some of the saints would call it.
I want that stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so why is lust bad?
Oh, it's bad?
Because I think people would say...
oh, no.
Dang it.
Yes.
Some people are like, wait a minute. I think some people would say lust is no big deal because I'm not doing it. Lust is okay if I'm not doing anything. Like I can look, but don't touch.
But that's contradictory to the gospel, because Jesus says if you lust after a woman in your heart, you've already committed adultery with her. So, like St. Thomas Aquinas and the great
Matthew chapter 5.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. Like St. Thomas Aquinas would say, along with a lot of the saints, is they get it right out of the gospel. If you have this disordered desire already in your heart and you're thinking about it, you've already committed adultery, even though you don't have to act, because the Jewish law says you have to act. You have to act upon it in order to do it. And the Lord Jesus says it starts back in the soul and back in the heart. So there's this need in each human person to remember, concupiscence is the disordered passions.
What's the opposite of concupiscence?
And the intellect and the will. It's I think it's what Thomas Aquinas calls it, the well-ordered life.
Yep. Or temperance.
Yeah.
We would say
it's
temperance.
about touch.
So the Catechism says the heart, this is 25:17, the heart is the seat of moral personality. And we quote Matthew 15, out of the heart comes evil thoughts, murder, adultery, fornication. Then the Catechism says the struggle, and I think everyone will be able to identify with this, the struggle against carnal covetousness entails purifying the heart and practicing temperance. So if lust is your deal, lust is your issue, lust is like, oh, that's like my main sin.
Or it's a side hustle too.
Or it's a side, yeah. And I think it is on some level for everybody, but then I think people go through different times of life, sort of seasons of life, where lust is more difficult. I think it's, I mean, again, I don't. It's not like easy for some people, and but like college.
Yeah, when you're 16 to 25.
Yeah, like your hormones are your body is is heading in that direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Your body is kind of pushing you towards union with others that you may or may not be in a relationship with or married to, or
your body is saying, get ready to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
And your passions are saying, let's disorder all this.
But I don't know her
up.
name,
Yeah. Or it's the move towards pornography. So then the ninth commandment is saying, how do you rein those in with prudence and temperance?
Yeah, temperance. So talk about temperance. How would you define temperance?
I always tell people temperance is about touch. It's food, drink, sex. Food, drink, flesh.
Yep.
And so when it's just about touch. It's about our eyes casting upon something. That then moves this desire in our heart to act. So temperance says to us, let's not act according to this, because we've created this well-ordered life around us, that I don't have too much to drink, although I can have a drinking hand on my body, that I don't jump into the passions of the flesh, even though I have these things called hormones going through me and a desire to be fruitful and multiply, that I practice this temperance. And then of the eyes too, temperance of the eyes, to look upon. It's like, once I recognize, or we as people recognize, golly, there's something that's coming through my eyes that's stirring me to do this, then I practice that custody of the eyes and look away.
Yep.
Look away.
And I think it's sometimes why fasting, I mean, if you're struggling with chastity, struggling with lust, fasting on the food and drink side will help you.
Yes.
Oftentimes the two, I mean, so you hear it a lot. I mean, on a college campus, but also outside of that. Man, I just had too much to drink, and then we like hooked up. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, well, let's go back. Like, where was the? Okay, both of those are sins. Both of those are mistakes. Where did that start? Oh, it started when you had that third drink. Yeah. And so oftentimes when we kind of give in on one part of our life, it makes it a lot easier to give in on the other parts.
Yeah, you know what I tell college dudes? Well, I mean college students in general, guys and girls, when they say like, they come in and they want to talk and they're like, I've been drinking too much, and I can't practice temperance. My chastity is in error. And I asked them a question, where did it begin? And they said, well, we got a picture of Michelob Ultras. And so this is what I'd tell them. I said, Michelob Ultra is the celery of beers. It has no flavor. It has no calories. It just has alcohol in it. So this is your penance. Even if we're just walking down the street or sitting in a restaurant. I said, if you go to the pub, if you go to college bar, you have to order an $8 beer. They're like, $8? That's like a half a pitcher of Michelob Ultras. And I was like, you're not allowed to drink Michelob Ultras. It's the celery of beers.
I thought you were going to make them eat celery.
No.
To remind them.
Cheap Michelob. I'm going to rant for a second, but Michelob Ultras is terrible. Because when you make trashy beer, you actually stop the senses from enjoying it. Like when you have a nice, delicious cerveza and you put a lime in it, maybe a little bit of salt, you're like, wow, this was delicious on a hot day. Or Schnickel Fritz, Urban Chestnut Brewery, unpaid advertisement right there. I brought some back from St. Louis.
This episode of Pastors of Pain is brought to you by Schnickel Fritz.
The dream come true to your tongue. It's like angels dancing on your tongue. It's so delicious. But when you drink Michelob Ultra, temperance goes out the door because you're just pounding beers. And it's the same way, I think, with like buffets. People go and they just they're eating out of the trough. And so when we don't...
The more I eat, the better value.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with like TVs just running or podcasts running or just noise running, except this podcast. That when we just constantly are under this, we have no silence, so we're not practicing temperance. We just turn stuff on and leave it going.
Yeah.
Okay, there's mine.
Okay, let's talk modesty.
Oh.
So in the ninth commandment, modest is hottest. That's right. So 25:21 of the Catechism, purity requires modesty, an integral part of temperance. Modesty protects the intimate center of the person. It means refusing to unveil what should remain hidden.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I love John Paul II had a line about pornography, and he said, the problem with pornography is not that it shows too much, is that it shows too little of the human person. So then the Catechism keeps saying, it is ordered to chastity to whose sensitivity it bears witness. It guides how one looks at others and behaves towards them in conformity with the dignity of persons and their solidarity. Modesty is decency, it goes on to say. It is discreet. It takes away like a risk of unhealthy curiosity. So this happens in the, I don't know, at least on like Twitter every year, there's usually some like massive debate about modesty at church or modesty and of dress. And so really I think to ask yourself when you're getting dressed in the morning, or even, and this is also true of just of what you watch and what why am I wearing what I'm wearing? Am I wearing this in order to, a guy, wearing some like super tight, shirt 3 sizes too small? Am I wearing this because I want girls to look at me? And girls, am I wearing this because I want this part of my body to be sticking out so that I get attention? And to ask yourself, is that modest? Is that in line with your religious beliefs? Is that going to help another person see your beauty and your dignity, or is it going to go in the opposite direction? I think those are questions to ask as you're buying clothes, as you're getting dressed in the morning or at night.
Yeah. Does it reveal too little?
Yeah. Yeah.
Of you?
Yeah. So all that is in the 9th commandment. So, it really gets at, kind of the idea
That's a packed house
of lust. There's a lot there. So I would just encourage, going into the catechism on the 9th commandment. Okay, and in a few minutes, let's talk the 10th commandment.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goodies.
Yeah. So what I've always liked, and the way I explain the commandments, like why does persons come before goods? Well, because persons are more important.
Yeah. There's a hierarchy of being.
There's a hierarchy of being there. That person. So 9 is people, and 10 is people's.
Yeah, 9 because
people's stuff.
Yeah, because 9 is they're in the image and likeness of God, and they share God's very divine nature.
Yep.
Human beings.
Exactly.
Yep.
So this is the Catechism 2534. The 10th commandment unfolds and completes the 9th.
Oh.
That's why we're putting them together, which is concerned with concupiscence of the flesh. That's the 9th.
Yep.
The 10th, it forbids coveting the goods of another as the root of theft, robbery, and fraud, which the 7th commandment forbids. Lust of the eyes leads to the violence and injustice forbidden by the 5th commandment. Avarice, like fornication, originates in the idolatry prohibited by the first 3 prescriptions of the law, commandments 1, 2, and 3. The 10th commandment concerns the intentions of the heart. The intentions of the heart. So even if you're not acting on it, even if you don't violate the 7th commandment and steal it, when you have a covetous desire of what someone else has, it's not good for you and it's not good for them. And it's a violation of the commandments.
I have a question.
Yeah.
There's a song going through my head right now, and it goes like this. She thinks my tractor's sexy.
Yeah, Kenny Chesney. Yes, I'm familiar.
Is that covetous song? Should I stop listening to that song? She thinks his tractor's sexy. Is she coveting his
How can a tractor be sexy?
I don't know. Farmers are always looking.
That's going to be our next show. Our next show will be entitled Can
tractors be sexy? I mean, there's probably some people out there driving John Deeres who are looking at cases and saying, I wish I had that. And the people probably the other way. Case people are looking at John Deere's like,
it's so green.
It's so green. And I'm green with envy right now.
All right, so we got to be careful of our appetites. So this is 2535 of the Catechism. The sensitive appetite leads us to desire pleasant things we do not have.
Whoa, what's the sensitive appetite first?
The sensitive appetite? I mean, our appetite, usually we associate that with food, but we have appetites for all kinds of things.
Those things that move our passions.
Yes, yes. And they are very sensitive.
Yeah.
I mean, if
they
you,
come in through the senses, they move and they're stirred.
So there's a good appetite, the desire to eat when we're hungry,
Yep.
to warm ourselves when we are cold.
Bang.
That's survival.
Yep.
These desires are good in of themselves, but often they exceed the limits of reason and drive us to covet unjustly what is not ours and belongs to another or is owed to them. So this gets to greed. The 10th commandment forbids greed. It forbids avarice, arising from a passion for riches and their attendant power. So you got to be careful. So same kind of thing. I think if you're struggling with, I want what I don't have, or I want what others have, that's not survival. If you're starving and you want food, you're not violating the 10th commandment. It's But if you have a car, you have a house, you have whatever it may be. I think a lot of times with technology these days, like, okay, you have a phone, but I don't have the iPhone 14 Max Pro. And now you're spending time, precious time, being jealous about a phone that somebody else has, and you have a phone.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe you don't even need a phone.
No, I'll give you two examples.
Please.
One is I had a wedding this summer, and I was talking to this. I mosey around and chat with people, and I was chatting with this cute couple, and he was leaning against the edge of a rail. We were out on this big patio, and he's leaning against the edge of the rail. And I said, after 5 minutes of just chatting, I said, "Wow, that's a really cool jacket. It says Lamborghini on it. Do you just own the jacket or a car?" And he goes, "Both." And I immediately, there was this envy I could just stirred up. I was like,
I want a Lamborghini.
I was just like, but then this is the beauty of the simplicity of life as a priest. Simplicity of a life as a priest puts envy and greed in check.
In its proper place.
And this is the reason why, when I was talking to some of my Franciscan friar buddies, they take poverty. And so,
they're poorer than us.
I give him $500 for coming and doing a mission, paying for his airfare, and he turns around and hands that to his superior, and his superior doesn't give him anything. Someone gives me $500 for traveling and giving a talk and helping them work, it goes right into my bank account. And this is what I love about simplicity of life. Simplicity of life engages envy and controls greed, because you have to ask the question, okay, I can't afford a Lamborghini. I can never afford a Lamborghini. But I could afford that car over there. I could afford a convertible red sports car, used 3 years old. Not like I'm thinking about it or nothing. I could buy that. I can actually pay for that because it's probably $30,000. I can buy that. But do I need that? Would it stir up envy and greed in me?
Need versus want.
Yeah, and that's what I love about simplicity of life, is that it forces me to keep all these things into check.
Just be happy with what we have. Yeah.
It is a virtue.
All right, well, I'm going to close with this. This is paragraph 2540, and this is, I think, a nice way to go out. It talks about envy. So it says this: envy represents a form of sadness, and therefore a refusal of charity. The baptized person, which is most people listening to this, the baptized person should struggle against it by exercising goodwill. Envy often comes from pride. The baptized person should train himself to live in humility.
Gosh, humility.
So love what you have. Love what you have. Be grateful for what you have. We had this great young adult thing last night, and one of the insights was like, when I pray, like, how often do I just sit down and like launch into all the stuff I want. And this woman said, one of our young adults, she said, it's so much better when I start with gratitude, and then I can launch into all the things that I want and need.
Give thanks to the Lord, for He is good.
Oh my.
You're welcome.
That was a rough ending. All right, we're out. Have a great week, everybody. God bless you.
Peace. Wow, that was awesome.